Hello and welcome to my new Guitar Nerdery video, the Ionian system or the church modes. A very common way to play all those 7 scales on the guitar is by learning 3 note per string patterns. Patterns like these here. I do not simply want to show you those patterns, but also show you how you can develop them by yourself. I think it will help you on the way learning them when you know what it's all about. Of course, I will also show you those 7 patterns and the finger settings I'm using when playing them in the second half of this video. Three note per string patterns. What are they good for and how can you develop them by yourself? Diatonic scales like those of the Ionian system consist of 7 notes. Every note can be a starting point for a new pattern, so we can develop 7 different patterns and all together cover the whole fretboard. The concept of 3 note per string patterns comes in very handy for the right hand because all 7 patterns have a different shape, but for the right hand they make no difference, because we have on each string 3 notes. So if we learn technical things, movements within a pattern, the right hand has to learn it only one time. If we change the pattern, then only the left hand has to play a new shape, another shape. But for the right hand, it stays the same. That feels very logical and it comes in very handy if you want to play somewhat faster guitar, like shred guitar. Before I'm gonna show you all 7 patterns, I'm gonna show you how they are actually developed. What's the idea behind it? Let's take the G major scale, the G Ionian scale, to develop 3 notes per string patterns. Following notes belong to the G major scale. It's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then G again. So it's a key with 1 sharp. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put all those notes horizontally on the low E string. So the G is here in the 3rd fret. 5th fret is the A. Again, 1 whole tone up. The B here in the 7th fret. Then a half tone step. C. D, again a whole tone. Whole tone E. Whole tone F sharp. And then a half tone again. 15th fret G. 1 octave up. Again the scale. And now to develop a 3 notes per string pattern by yourself, that's very, very easy. Let's start with first note, G. So the rule now is 3 notes per string. Means when you have played 3 notes, the 4th note has to be on the next string. And then you automatically come up with pattern number 1. G, A and B I can play on the low E string. The 4th note, C, it's the 4th note I have to play on the A string. And that's here. So on the A string I'm gonna play C, D and E. The next note would be F sharp, but yeah, it's the 4th note. It has to be played on the next string. So here. And here's the root again. So let's go through all strings. So I had here the F sharp. So here's the G again, an octave higher. We have a repetition here now. And here's the A. The next note would be B. It's the fourth note, so next string. On that string I can play now B, C and D. The next note is the note E. It's the fourth note. It has to be played on the B string here. I can play now E, F sharp and G. This G is 2 octaves higher than where we started. We can go a little bit further. The next note, the fourth note, would be A. We play it on the high E string. And there we can play A, B and C. And then we have it all. There's no other way than that your pattern you have come up with looks like this now. On a standard tuned guitar and with the concept 3 notes per string, the first pattern of the major scale looks like this. To develop now pattern number 2, we go to the second note of the G major scale. It is the A in the 5th position. All notes stay the same. We only have another starting point. And the concept also stays the same, of course. 3 notes per string, and then we have to change the string. A, B, and C is possible now. You see the third note and the second note. Here's the halftone step. Here, our pattern is already different than this. And the fourth note from here on would be D, and we have to play it on the A string. On the A string we can play now D, E and F sharp. Fourth note would be G. We have to play it on the D string, A and B. C is on the next string, C, D and E. Then comes F sharp, we play it here. And on the B string we can play now F sharp, G and A. B has to be played on the high E string, B, C and D. And we have our pattern number 2. There are now 5 more patterns to go, and the concept and the procedure is always the same. And if you do that, you come up with these. They will look like these patterns if your guitar is tuned in standard E tuning. By the way, maybe you have seen with those first 2 patterns, we have also a trade-off with 3 notes per string patterns, because the different tuned B string always forces position switching. There's an offset. That is something we have to deal with. And now all patterns on the right side. Don't mind the German description. And I'm gonna play them all in the right order. Pattern number 1. I'm gonna start on the first note, the G. Pattern number 2, starting on the second note, the note A in the 5th position. Pattern number 3, starting on the B in the 7th position. Pattern number 4, it has the greatest offset here, the greatest span, and I'm starting on the C in the 8th position. Starting on the D in the 10th position. That was pattern number 5. Pattern number 6 starts on the E in the 12th fret, and that's the first pattern that can be equally played with open strings down here, but I'm gonna play it here. Pattern number 7, the last one, starting on the F sharp in the 14th position. These were all 7 patterns of the Ionian system played on the guitar with the concept 3 notes per string. Maybe you have noticed that I do not really stick for 100% to a special finger settings for a pattern. That really depends on what I'm playing. To be able to move freely through a pattern when soloing, you have to keep it more flexible. Finally, let me have a word about what you gain from learning all 7 patterns. Isn't one enough? Yeah, of course. With only one pattern, you have 84 possibilities. Let's take pattern number 1, starting on the G. Of course, I do not have to start on the G. This note is only for orientation, to know where I have to start that pattern. And if I consider this to be also the root, then this is an Ionian pattern. And of course, I can move that pattern in 12 different positions. So I have 12 possibilities through all 12 keys. And we can multiply this also by 7. Because every of them 7 notes, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, could be a root. So if note number 1 in my pattern number 1 is the root, it is G Ionian. If note number 2 is the root, I stick to that pattern, but G isn't the root anymore, it's now A. Then I'm actually playing a Dorian. I can make the 3rd note, the B, the root, then I'm gonna play B Frisian. If I'm gonna make the 4th note, the C on the A string, sticking to that pattern. If I make this C the root, then it's gonna be, the same pattern is gonna be the C Lydian scale. If I make the 5th note the root, the D, then it's gonna be D Mixolydian. And the 6th note would be E Aeolian. And if I'm gonna make the 7th note, the F sharp, the root, then I'm gonna play F sharp Locrian, which is the 7th mode in the G Ionian system. I do not change anything, absolutely not. It's the same pattern. That's really good to know. Without changing anything, with only one pattern, I just played 7 different scales. And this I can transpose through all 12 keys. So it's 7 multiplied by 12. If I can play everything with only one pattern, why learning them other 6? Because with that one pattern you can play in this area here. Then you have a black hole here on the fretboard, and only 12 frets higher here you have the same pattern repeated. So if you want to fill or light up the black hole, you have to learn more than one pattern. And the best thing you can ever do is learning them all. But that's a lot to learn. If you learn them all and you really understand how they are connected with each other, how they are glued together, then it doesn't matter where you are on the fretboard. You know always where to go in a key. Downwards, upwards, diagonal, whatever. And if the key is changed, okay, the whole global pattern is going to be changed. It's flipped. It's a lot to learn, but it's really worth it. I just actually played through all 7 patterns, and it doesn't matter where I were, I knew where I were and where to go to. This was it for today. I hope I could make you understand that it's really worth the effort to learn all 7 patterns. It's not a task for 1 week. It takes time to get that. But you really will gain from it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to see you next time.